Hey, this is Meredith's husband. I've got some SEO advice for you, but I'm going to keep it really simple so that you can understand it, so it makes sense, and most importantly, so you can actually use it.
What are we going to talk about today?
Today?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? Welcome to season 2.
Hey!
This is season 2.
That's so exciting.
Yeah, isn't it?
That's so very exciting. Look at that.
Cool.
Congratulations.
We're gonna kick it off with a big topic.
Ooh.
Keyword cannibalization.
What?
That's just that's a pretty scary sounding term. For something that's pretty common, to be honest.
For something that's pretty what?
Pretty common.
Okay.
This happens all the time. The latest I've seen this happening is this week.
Ooh.
A couple days ago. I've seen my absolute biggest clients do this. I've seen my smallest clients do this. It happens all the time. And what it means is basically you're competing against yourself. You're not specific enough. You're not telling Google, hey, I want this page to rank. And for this particular keyword, you're just dumping keywords on your page and it sends conflicting signals to Google. Google doesn't know which page to rank for which keyword. And so you end up harming your own rankings. That's what it means.
It's kind of like putting in color wash with a whitewash and just throwing it all in there. And then, can you tell I'm doing laundry today? And then everything comes out pink.
Kind of. I guess. Yeah.
No kidding.
Anyway, I'm going to split this up into 3. We're going to cover keywords in 3 episodes.
Oh,
because there's there's more than I can cover in
bite-sized chunks.
Yeah. So today I'm going to do the summary.
Delicious bite-sized chunks.
Of course.
Bite-sized.
I'm going to cover what we're trying to do, the problem, what we're trying to do. And then we're going to do that in 2 parts. We're going to actually implement it in 2 parts. Those will be the next 2 episodes.
Okay.
So first, what are the signs? How can you tell if this is happening to your site? There's a few different ways you can tell. Number 1,
that there's a keyword cannibalization.
Yes, that you're cannibalizing your own keywords. You're hurting. You're shooting yourself in your foot. Actually,
and eating it.
You're not eating.
Cannibalism is eating your own foot.
Right. What? Yeah, shooting yourself in that. We're going down. It's a different analogy.
Oh. Then maybe cannibalism isn't the right word.
Right.
It could just be.
Well, your keywords, the idea is that your keywords are eating each other's opportunity. They're competing against each other. You're eating up your own rankings. You don't want to, if you're trying to get into Google and you want a good ranking, you don't want to compete with yourself.
No.
That's the last thing you want to do.
Yeah.
So as an example of how you spot this, how you can tell if this is happening to your site. I had a really big client, not too long ago, and I started, and they were in an industry that is not all that competitive. And they were, to be honest, one of the leaders. Like, you really would have expected them to be on page 1 for kind of whatever they wanted to be on page. They were one of a handful of companies that should actually be there. And
hula for mice.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
I knew it.
And yet their main keyword was on page 2, and they didn't know why. That was their biggest concern. So I started this project, and a week after I started, so we were tracking keywords. So we're looking at their rankings. Okay, this page is ranking here. They were appearing on page 2. A week after I started, that page that was showing up in Google changed, and a different page started showing up in Google. That is the most classic sign of that you're cannibalizing your own keywords. Google doesn't know which page to rank, and so they fluctuate. They go back and forth. In this case, it went from like an inner page to the home page.
Wow.
And then a week later, it was a different page.
It's like a what's it called? A bouncy house filled with throwing up keywords.
I guess so. There are other signs, however. That's not the only way. That's not the only way this kind of appears in Google. Sometimes if you have a keyword that you do a search for and you see your site coming up, but it's the wrong page, like you feel like that's just not the page that should be appearing for that keyword. That's also a sign.
Interesting. How do you know this?
Well, if like for you,
how do you know
for
any
example,
of this?
If you did a search for children's photography Brooklyn and your pets page came up, that would be that's obviously that wouldn't happen. That's a little too extreme. But let's say your pricing page came up.
Right.
Or your testimonials page came up. That would be a case of this happening.
Got it.
Also, sometimes if your rankings are just fluctuating a lot, if they're constantly going like on and off page one, or they have big swings, then this can be an issue. Also, sometimes it's just when you don't have good rankings, this is what is happening.
Okay.
So so this happens a lot.
Yeah.
Anyway, for that client, back to that story. So what I had to tell this client to do was for their main keyword, I had to convince them to take that keyword off of their homepage, if you can believe it.
No.
Because they wanted to have
I bet that went well.
It did not go over well. It did not go over well.
No.
They were using that keyword a whole bunch of times on their homepage, but they had an inner page that was specifically dedicated to that keyword. And that was the page that we kind of wanted to have optimized for that keyword. So we had to take that keyword off of the homepage. Not completely. It was still there, but they had it on there like 10 different times, and we took half of them away. Like a month later, they got onto page one. They were right up in the middle of page one. Now, what's funny though is we can't ultimately guarantee which page is going to appear in Google search. So we had an inner page that was totally optimized for this term. Mm-hmm. And we had reduced the focus on that term with their homepage. What ultimately ended up happening at Google was the homepage displayed. Now, sometimes that happens.
Okay, wait, what is the interpage?
Just an inside page. What
does that mean?
It's a page inside your website. It's any page other than your homepage.
Okay, and inner page?
That is an inner page.
Inner page.
INNER, not INTER.
Yeah, like my last name, except for the Z.
Right. That's exactly.
Yeah, I'm kind of familiar with the spelling.
Okay, so that's an inner page. It's inside your site.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
So sometimes, even though we have now we have a page, I had a page for this client that was optimized really well for that keyword. Sometimes Google is going to display your homepage first, and Google will make that decision. Mm-hmm. But what we can avoid is having some different inner page, having some other page, having the pages conflict. Mm. So, like I said, we can't always guarantee which page Google is going to rank, even if we have a really well optimized page. It might show the homepage. Sometimes it will show both, which is great. Great.
So ideally, you want to be ranked for the.
Ideally, you want to have a page on your site that is really well optimized for a keyword.
Okay.
Let's take your site, for example.
Okay.
Your children's photography page is the page that's optimized for children's photography.
Good.
Your homepage is more about just family photography and photography in general, but then your children's page is really focused on the children's photography keyword. Mm. Now, sometimes if somebody does a search in Google for children's photography, they're going to see your homepage first.
Right.
Ultimately, Google is going to make that call. Do I show
I think they can. Let them.
Do they show the page that's really well optimized, or just the homepage? And there's not much you can do on your end to change that.
Just kind of make them both as good as possible.
Yeah. But
let Google decide. It's Google's home. Google's website.
If we tried to optimize your site, if we tried to optimize the homepage for children's photography and also your children's page for the keyword children's photography, they would probably bring both rankings down in Google. You would start.
It's kind of like being nominated for an Academy Award for 2 different films. You end up canceling yourself out.
That's actually exactly right.
Why did I even do any of it except for the money?
That's a very
and the experience and the art of it. But thank you. Yeah. See.
Every time you start a sentence with "it's kind of like," I'm like, oh no, oh Jesus.
But interestingly
this
enough,
one was great.
I'm
this one was
pretty
perfect.
much always right. But initially, you're like, oh no, what? Ice cream?
Or you're talking about ice cream.
Oh, I love ice cream.
So this tends to happen it happens most frequently with a couple different types of sites. Big sites like that one I was talking about, like, they have a lot of content. And so they have the potential for competing against themselves with a lot of different pages. Good. And then very small sites, kind of like yours, like independent people who don't, if you didn't have, an SEO consultant working on your site like you do, and your husband, then I see this because what people do is they say, okay, this is my keyword. I just need to put this keyword on all of my pages. And that's that's a very bad thing to do. I see that all the time. That's good to know. That's what I saw earlier this week. There's a sweet spot. Like over the years, I've had a lot of like mid-range clients that are kind of regional inside. Are you still talking?
What? Nope. Yeah. Do you hear me talking?
Yeah, I do. So clients that have like,
sweet spots.
A sweet spot. So I had one company, it was a regional company, it was a good example of this. They have maybe a half a dozen different services. They have pages for those services, and then they have a blog, and the blog talks about very specific stuff. That type of company tends to not run into this issue.
Right.
What you want to avoid, this is the reason why when you write a blog, don't blog about children's photography.
Right.
Don't blog about your main keywords. Your blog should be about very specific questions and niches.
And it should be what did you call it? Your blog should be
a resource.
A resource. I knew it was a resource.
Okay, so that's what we want to do. That's the issue. It's a common issue.
Okay.
And it's what we want to avoid. And what we want to do is we want to have specific pages optimized for specific keywords.
We do.
So the next 2 episodes, we're going to do 2 things. We're going to, number one, the next episode, we're going to talk about how to choose your keywords.
That's very good.
Because I guarantee you, you're probably not going to be correct in what you think your keywords are. I can't even tell you. Over the years, I can't even tell you how many people they come to me and they want to start projects. And they're like, don't worry about keyword research. We already have them. That is never the case. They are never correct. So don't assume that you know your keywords. You want to do at least a little bit. You want to do some level of keyword research. I'm going to show you how to do that.
Okay. I was just going to say, how do you do that?
We're going to cover, that's what we're going to cover in the next episode.
Excellent.
And then part 3 of this, keywords part 3, is then what do you do with it? Where do you put it on your website?
Oh, that is very good.
Pretty good way to.
Very, very, very exciting season 2.
So, things to remember. Do not assume that you know your keywords.
Do not assume you know your keywords.
Don't assume. Just don't assume that you know we're going to need to do a little bit of research. I'll tell you how to do it. Do listen to the next episode.
Yes. It's very important.
Talk to you then.
Goodbye. Hey, thank you so much for listening. We really hope that you find this helpful and useful. And if you do, what you could do for us as a thanks would be to, drumroll please, yes, leave a review. Yes, everybody says it, I know, but it really does make a difference. Take 3 seconds, leave as many stars, say something really nice about what you like about the podcast and maybe why other people would like it. It would mean the world to us, especially my husband. That better? All right, I'm going to try one where I'm not going to be charming.